Hello, this is Gene. I was going to respond to a friend that I have on Facebook, what he said about Nick Fuentes, but then we found out where he actually got this terminology or his basically his disgust for Nick. Um, and I went back to review and debunk his claims. However, he doesn't have it there anymore. He's now pointing to an article that he got most of what he said he had this long tirade about Nick, but it really came from this article from a Catholic Zionist. So I'm going to introduce this person, and I'm going to talk about what he had to say about whatever is happening in the conservative movement now because of people like Nick, and let you know what I think about that, and why these people are so out of bounds with what's reality for people of Nick's age, white men in general. So I'll introduce him. This guy is a boomer. He's the 70s. He is a Catholic, but he is basically a Zionist. And his name, and he's a very academic person. He's been to a lot of schools. He's a doctor of whatever. He's a thought person. But he definitely is a Zionist. His name is Robert P. George. Again, remember, it's hard for me to read and actually say this stuff because of my strokes. I'll do as best as I can. Hopefully it's early in the morning. I'll do a little bit better than normal. It says he's a prominent American legal scholar. So this is a person that probably been in academics for his entire life. I don't know. I have to go look and see if he's actually headed any corporations, and this guy probably has. He's been at Heritage. He just resigned last month. I don't know if it was because of whatever. I don't know. He's also a professor at Princeton University, which is one of the most liberal universities in the world. There might be one or two conservative people at Princeton. He's probably considered conservative. I think he's considered conservative. But this is fair. This is far. There's not a whole lot of them to say that. He has explicitly stated that he supports the state of Israel and has demonstrated his opposition to anti-Semitism, which aligns with Zionist principles. His position is underscored by several key actions and statements. The reason I'm saying this because this is the person that writes this article, and then my friend basically regurgitates it because for some reason he hates Nick Fuentes. He thinks he's a neo-Nazi. The first one, support of the state of Israel. Why does this? Well, I'm not gonna. I'm just. This is what he does. He has publicly affirmed his support for the existence and security of the state of Israel, stating that Jewish people have a right to establish a modern state in Israel homeland. Okay. Then why are they here in the United States? Opposition to anti-Semitism. Okay, this guy's supposed to be a Catholic. These people that want to put all these bills and laws out there said that you can't say the term like Christ is king because that's anti-Semitic. He's opposed to it, like everybody kind of is. We don't really like what the state of Israel is doing right now, but we don't have an issue with too many Jewish people. He is a vocal opponent of anti-Semitism, considered any attempt to God's unique bond with the Jewish people is antithetical to his Christian faith. Okay, if we actually say what the Old Testament says, what the Torah says, what the Talmud says, we can't have just a question about the belief systems of the God that we believe in. And if we do that, now we're anti-Semitic. This is how these people do this. Every other religion we could look at, and we will not be called something because of those people. He did resign. Oh, this is the guy that, okay. Is that the guy this is the video that they did. Okay. So this is interesting now. This is the guy that basically said, we're not going to Tucker. This is the guy that would not cancel Tucker Carlson because he had Nick on his show. And now what he's doing, he's got this article, and he's basically ripping Nick to shreds. And Nick said after he saw that video, said, "This is really great. This is what we should be. Free speech above everything else, that type of thing." But then again, he got the call. And then he resigned, and then he did that article a couple weeks later. The guy is a cuck. He commended campus anti-Semitism, blaming Israel for the violence, calling deeply wrong in academia. So you can't have an opinion about what happened on October 7th. We have several reports that said that the Israeli government knew that this was going to happen, and they allowed it to happen. There are people in the Knesset, their version of their Senate, Knesset, that have been talking about this. It's not just people there, it's other Jews saying the same thing. Are they anti-Semitic as well? Just wondering. And yes, he is, for his entire life at academia, he has been involved with pro-Israel type of groups. So again, this could be a very, very long video. I don't really want it to be that way because I don't know if I can do it that long. This is a person that came out after the Tucker Nick Fuentes interview. He supported free speech. He said, "We're at Heritage. This is what we support." And then for weeks and weeks and weeks, he's been pounded and pounded and pounded because he didn't disavow Nick Fuentes and Tucker Carlson. So he resigned 2 weeks ago for Thanksgiving. Now, 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later, he puts out this article on the Washington Post, which is a fucking very left-wing newspaper in the United States. And he talks about this and why it's antithetical to support people like this, that we should denounce people that might be conservative in some areas that really wouldn't be a liberal, would not be on the Democratic Party, and we should keep them out because they're anti-Semitics. So he does all this, and my friend, which again, he's not really my friend. I don't think I've ever actually met the guy. We worked in the same area. He's usually he's a Christian himself, but he's clearly listened to Washington, what he said. His writings over the years, he's probably also a Zionist. He just went, and unfortunately, he took that off the ground. He just went all over on Nick, but he used the same words that this writer did. So I'm not going to name my friend's name, but I'm just going to sit there and we're going to go through what George actually had to say. And it's all, for the most part, it's all bullshit. And I would just say this. Again, this is a 70-year-old man. He's been to academia his entire life. He's been at think tanks for the rest of his life. He does not understand what it's like to be a young man in the United States, especially a white man, and understanding that everything that they were promised have been taken away from it. And when they get upset about boomers taking all the wealth and they get nothing from it, there's a reason for it. And it's just not because Jews are doing stuff in Israel, okay? But when they wake up and they see all the shit that we're getting involved with, looking at the people that's going to have to fight these wars are going to be them and other people of other races, they might understand why they're upset about it. As bad as it was, and I want to say this all the time, still in this country, you have the greatest opportunities of any country in the world, and you should be motivated to do something about it. It's not the same it was when we showed up. It's just not. It's not the same way as it was when I was Generation X. I basically was allowed to go in the military not really doing anything, right? And they gave me a good job, and they gave me what I needed. It's hard to get in the military at some things now, or you have to get waivers to get into now. Anyway, that's a totally different thing. So let me go ahead and open up this post. And again, it's going to be difficult for me, but I'm going to try as best I can. It's on Washington Post. Of course, that's got a link on it that you have to pay for. Somebody on their Facebook put it on something, so I guess that's how he's doing it. Again, we have to look at the entire history of this stuff. Nick was on his show, on Tucker's show. Ah, shit. I got to find it again. Okay. Nick was on his show. It had a big following. At least 6 million or 7 million watched that video. And this guy decided he needed to come out because everybody's trying to get rid of Tucker, right? And I mean, even Charlie Kirk tried to stop that before he was shot. Um, so Nick went on there, very good interview. Some issues after that, but whatever. It got it out, and all of a sudden, the people that are always there trying to control the conservative movement, Ben Shapiro's, these guys that have allegiance to other countries, not necessarily the United States. And again, that's anti-Semitic as well. It's a trope, apparently. It's the only fucking thing, right? It's the only people that if they can do for their country, if we say something about it, then it becomes anti-Semitic. And then he just went through a firestorm forever. Then he resigned, and now he comes out with this. So this is when it starts. This is December 4th, a couple days ago. So he's, this is an academic person, right? What should the conservative movement stand for? What should conservatives dictate themselves to conserving? Over the last few weeks, now he didn't know that there was a movement going on in the Conservative Party, that Nick was going on through his generational run, that young white men were standing up saying, this is not right. We want to be conservative. We want to look at God as the goal, or the things that we use to create our life, that we believe that Christ is king, that we want our women to be traditional, that we want to have a job, we want to have a nice house, we want to have all that shit. Apparently, this person's not aware of what's going on in the conservative movement. It has become clear that people describe themselves as conservatives don't agree on the answers to these questions. Legitimate differences in debate exist about authentic conservatism. So he's going to decide what is actually conservatism now, and who's actually authentic. This is what's happening the last couple of weeks with Nick, because he said certain things that he doesn't really consider himself conservative anymore. What he's really saying, he doesn't really look at himself as a Republican. And why would he? The Republicans are not conservative at all. Although conservatives certainly reject socialism, there is no canonical conservative position on, for example, how much regulation of market is desirable. Who cares about this? He's talking about libertarians and all that other shit. It says, so in that sense, and he's talking about the Big Ten conservatism. If you're a democracy, the conservatism should try to defend that. I guess he's thinking Israel's a democracy. It says, but in some sense, conservatism is and should be a big tent. Should be a big tent. Last month, or was it September or October? He could have said this on that video, but he didn't do it. His first instinct was like, no, what? We're all about free speech. And Tucker should have anybody on his show that he wants. And the free market of place of ideas will decide what's going to happen. We let the public find out or decide what they want to do, what they want to follow, what they want to be, what part of ideology they want to be. Now he's changing all this because he got the fucking call. Now again, all his friends are in that same movement. Some of them happen to be Gentiles, but a lot of them happen to be Jewish. He got the fucking call. But he says it should be a big tent, but there are limits. Oh, okay. So you're going to put pillars out there. You're going to put obstacles to being conservative. Okay. What is that? Oh, what if you're a pedophile? I would no. You shouldn't be a conservative, right? Okay. Let's see what he has to say. When people claim the mantle of conservative promote white supremacy. Here we go. We got to blame the white man because white supremacy is taking over the entire West, right? That's the real problem in the United States and in England and everything else. It's white supremacy. Are you fucking kidding me? And of course, right after that, he had to say white first. He had to make it the worst possible thing, right? Then it's anti-Semitic, anti-Semitism, eugenics. Who's pushing eugenics? It's the only people that's pushing that are the people that are coming here invading our country, and they want to breed us out of existence, to take the white man to no longer be the majority of this country, to be nothing. We're already 70% of the world population, and we're being breeded out of existence everywhere, and we're not reproducing. This person doesn't understand what conservative means, right? we have to conserve our people first, right? And the people that founded this country happen to be Europeans, and they are white. And I don't understand this. The subjugation of women. Why? Because Nick said it's my body, my choice, or your body, my choice, that he said during the Super Bowl or whatever it was. And he got all that traction over that. And now he's this big bad person because he said something like that. We've been taught for the last 40 years that men are the worst things of all time. That men, well, I'll take the bear over the men. And he basically just comes back in a trolling, joking way to just basically shut them down. And now, oh, wait a second, suffrage, subjugation of women. So you're talking about in the West, where the white liberal women are the most entitled entity that's ever lived on Earth. And there's a person online on TikTok. He's multi-millionaire. He's a gamer, and I can't say his name is Amazon or something. He said the same shit the other day, and he's a lot younger than me, but he's 100% right. This is what we've seen. We have allowed them to have way too much control, and they decide everything in academia. It's geared to women and liberal women, and they get in there and they allow all these migrants to come in this country and change everything, and now they want us to come in and try to stop that from happening. And other forms of ideologically extremist and bigotry. Again, here we go. This man has no idea what he's talking about, because the next paragraph he's gonna call him out by name. Apparently, the person that is pushing all this shit is a group of people. They're white supremacists. They're anti-Semitic. They believe in eugenics, the subjugation of women, and any type of bigotry. They're responsible for it. These so-called groypers, such as the Hitler and Stalin sympathizers, Nick Fuentes, want to be inside the tent. No, he doesn't. Are you watching this shit? He realizes the conservative movement is lost in this country because they're not taking care of the people that made them where they're at now. Why do you think Trump got the second term? It was because people like Charlie Kirk, who happens to be a Christian Zionist probably, but these young men were looking for this. They're looking for a conservative value system that Nick talks about, that talks about God being God, Christ is king. What's that? And a lot of people that went to his things were Nick's friends of Nick and will call him out on it. And all of those people, including Charlie Kirk himself, had to move to where Nick is at. So he's not really asking him to be under the conservative net anymore. Now, he wanted to for years and years and years. He wanted to be almost like a mainstream thing and be able to talk about his ideas. And he's having these opportunities right now. So now everybody's got to see what he has to say. Has he matured since he said something when he's 18? Yeah. Has he changed his viewpoint? Not really. He's just not talking about certain things that might offend some people. He's not saying too much more about the Holocaust and stuff. But these are things that you do. And again, this 70-year-old man, I'd say, would you go back when you're 18 and just, what were you doing back then? Were you in the back of a car somewhere and maybe not really hearing no and kept going? All right. Before you sit there and just sit there and say this guy is some sort of racist, when you don't know the man, you don't have the balls to actually have a conversation with him. You're just supposed to be this great doctor at Princeton and you won't have a conversation with him. You don't want to have it because you know that his ideas are the ones that are going to actually change for the future for everybody. They want to be inside the tent. The problem is the tent that you think that we have now is not going to be the tent when you're dead, dude. And he's only 10 years older than me. It's not. It has to be somebody like Nick or people like Nick for us to even keep what we actually believe what the United States actually is. It says that they're aimed to change. Okay, then he's right. He wants to remake the conservative movement. Okay, what's wrong with that? He's doing it by talking, right? And then if he talks, then you get into people that believe his ideology or whatever that you think that is. He's just a Christ. All he really is that he's a Christian nationalist. It's really all what Nick is. And people have this idea that being a conservative, or you claim he's conservative, or he wants to take over the conservative movement while he has quote unquote liberal ideas, that he's not all individualistic believing system, that we're some collective group of people that needs to protect ourselves, that somehow that's against what's formed the United States of America. It's clearly not. It's in our founding papers that most of our immigration should come from countries that look like us, that's how we make sure that our country continues to be the same way, that we do not want people to come from foreign areas to be in power, especially when it comes to this is where the framers were wrong. They did it for the presidency, but they didn't do it for the other houses in Congress. They should have never allowed somebody who was born from outside the country to come in and to be in those levers of power. And they should never allow anybody who's got dual citizenship. They should not have it. You're supposed to be here for the United States citizens. Now you can come here and be naturalized, and maybe as a representative, maybe I'll be okay with that. The senator should not be. Even conservatives who are appalled by the grotesque ideology of Fuentes, again, this guy's an academic, right? That means he's had to research shit and write papers, right? 2 weeks ago, or 2 months ago, or 6 weeks, whatever it was, when he got on there and did that video, I'm assuming that's the same guy because he had to resign. Why can't he look at this? Oh, shit. Grotesque? What do you call it? Grotesque ideology of Fuentes. Maybe he should have said that when he was talking to the video that day. Well, Tucker really shouldn't have had him on the thing, or we're gonna put like pillars before anybody can debate. We can't be like that. We can't be the left. Now, again, the left used to be that way. They were the whole thing about free speech, but apparently they're not anymore, and we're becoming that same way. Here he goes, and as somehow his ideology and as allies somewhat about how they deal with the phenomenon. They note the liberal influence have long followings, especially among disaffected young men, and fear alienating them if they draw a broad line, excluding racist and anti-Semitic for good and conservative. Okay, I can't say it. That's the problem. Basically, saying now that they're worried that Nick has got this big of a following, and they have to allow these people in the quote unquote conservative big tent, because if they didn't do that, we won't have any power. So we have to make a line now. We have to make a line. This we can't allow this. We can't have a little kid from Chicago that he's half Mexican or quarter Mexican that went to university and he was basically canceled when he was 18 by a Jewish person, and then has been canceled because all he really wants is us to go back to where we were 40 years ago about what we believe about what America means, and that there's some people in the country that has way too much influence, and we shouldn't be doing this. We shouldn't have foreign aid. And I really like that he had this conversation with Steven Crowder yesterday, because they're very similar. But again, Steven had to be pulled because of Nick's force of nature. And what's really true, that this is why he's popular. It's not just because we're so stupid that we think this young man knows everything and he's Hitler reborn. He's not talking about grouping up people and killing people. He's a Christian person. Did you see what he said after Charlie Kirk got killed? George. And you go on, if you're I'm sure you have a high IQ, but you couldn't research this guy before you went and did that video and said we have to protect free speech. Then you get the fucking call, and then you got resigned, and now you have to go back and do this because now Nick is on the other ones talking to other people. He's talking to Steven Crowder. We got to talk about it now. We have to have a line here. And to be honest, Steven Crowder did this as well. He's talking about the pillars and stuff and whether or not we want to allow people in. But he allowed Nick to be in. But again, these guys are all capitalists, and they know that Nick is the future, right? And whatever you want. The thing is that Nick is right here, right? There are people that follow him, and there's no question about this, and that's on both sides, right, that are much more radical than he is. And again, Nick is not radical. He is basically what we were in 1960. Absolutely, before everything happened, before the civil rights. All this shit is pretty much what everybody believed back in 1960. Now, people say, well, that's progress is more important than everything else. Whatever. But we were 90% white in this country, 10% black. We had issues about the slavery thing, about civil rights, need to be taken care of, all that shit. All that had to happen, right? Then you got Vietnam War. We had three big political people being shot. It just changed the entire country forever, and not for the good. Again, anyway. But he's saying about now drawing a bright light is exactly what we need to do right now or immediately. We have to now say, there's no way somebody like Nick should be a conservative. So again, living in this social media age, there is nobody, and I mean nobody, that a young white man that's on a conservative side hasn't said something on social media that he would now say would have to be disavowed. There is no way. That's what we find about those things that the texts that came out and people were talking about stuff because they all fucking watch Nick or people like him or even further radical than him. Okay. Remember, the alt-right was run by a liberal. Richard Spencer is a socialist. He was not like Nick is. Now, Nick will still talk to him. They're going to have another interview. And the thing, with a pig, when you talk about free speech and being an absolute when it comes to that, everybody can speak, you cannot put like a line there. Because Nick does not say go kill people. He's not say round them up because they're Jewish. He's never said anything like that. He points at the bear or he prods the bear and see how they react. And we see how they react. And they went after you, doctor. And you cucked like every other person does. So somebody that's his age, and they look at you and you're a fucking boomer, and you cuck like that after doing that great video, which was it was astonishing when it happened. Here is a mainstream think tank for the conservative people who's happened to be a Zionist, Christian Catholic, came out and said we have to support free speech. Then you got the call, apparently, because you didn't do the research on Nick. I mean, he hasn't changed. In fact, he's become more mature the last 2 or 3 years. I mean, what he's saying now are what mainstream people online are talking about. Matt Walsh, even Ben Shapiro in a lot of ways, Steven Crowder, Michael Knowles. They're talking what Nick has been talking about for the last 5 years. Mark Dice. They're talking about white replacement. These are things you couldn't say, right? Nick was out front of that. And before that, we had Jared Taylor. These are great men, including Nick. Now, it says, this is what it is. He's basically going to describe what actually a Draper is, and what Nick Fuentes is. He's clearly an extremist. He's an extremist in victory. Victory has no place in the conservative movement. So he's basically saying that Nick is a bigot. Anybody that listens or influenced by or supports Nick is a bigot or an extremist. Really? That we just want that our country will be America? That we don't want certain things having too much influence in this country? That we have to promote and preserve the founders of the country? That makes you a bigot? Okay. These are contrary to the central things that conservatives should be dictating themselves to conserving, namely, the biblical principle of dignity of every member of the human family, except the people who are a little skeptical about the state of Israel. We can't talk about that, right? We can't talk about that because you can't. And we're going to put bills out there and decide that the president's going to sign it, and DeSantis is going to play it in Florida, that you can't say anything about the state of Israel. Why do they why? Because it's always going to be they're the chosen people and we can't say anything about them? It says, a plea to my federal conservatives to draw a bright line against bigotry is not called to cancellation. Individuals who hold extremists or bigoted. Who decides what is bigoted? Who decides what's extreme? We were founded on this country on an extreme radical idea that we can govern ourselves, we the people. What the fuck are you talking about? You went to school. You're at Princeton. This is how this country is fucking formed. Now, what made it great about this country is we are very individualistic, but it also shows our Achilles heel. We are so worried about being individuals and capitalists and all that stuff that sometimes we forget about everybody else. And when there is a claim that means something to it, when they say that the boomers have destroyed this country, there's a reason for it. Now, I don't think that all those boomers believed that they were trying to do that, right? But they felt that I had to give it for myself. I had to get it for myself. Now, again, they grew up with parents that grew up in the Depression. So they knew that they had to do this. I knew about this. My stepfather was a lot older, right? He'd been 100 years in February, well, actually in a couple of weeks, he would be 100 years old. So clearly he's above the boomer, right? He grew up during the Depression. So he's like, you got to hold on to everything. And I think that a lot of the boomers they're born from that era, and they think that they had to get their wealth because it could be taken away from them at all, right? But they didn't really go back into the system and do more for the people behind them. And I think that's a fair critique between the generations. Now, as a Generation X, I think a lot of younger people are just way too much on social media and stuff, and they're not doing what they need to do. They need to be motivated. But again, when you take out God out of everything, you forget that usually promotes and motivates everything. Because as a man, you're supposed to provide and protect. People say you can't say that. That's just how we are called to do this. So when you take God out of it, people's like, I can just do whatever I fucking want to do, right? And I'm gonna get as much money as I want right now. I mean, are they really any different now? Some of the people that have a lot of money that are young are very similar to like the boomers. Are they going to give it to anybody else? Some people do. Anyway. He says, I would fight, and dude, I fight to protect free speech rights despite my profound rejection of the beliefs. What I'm trying to do is remind you guys. Got to understand this. We got to remind you. I'm going to take you to that re-education camp in the Auschwitz to make you understand what actually happened there. We only have a billion movies every day about it, but I've got to take you there. They did this to the man with the most money in the world. You got to go there. And then this same fucker said the other day that Jews are white. This is the type of shit that we're going against. The person that, my founders, the ancestors built this country. They're a unique group of people. They're white Europeans. And now we're hearing from the most wealthy person in the world, Elon Musk, that Jews are white. Really? Really? So you're taking away my culture as well. Thank you very much. I like Elon in a lot of ways, but that was fucking stupid. And this guy's saying the same shit. It's like, well, I just want to remind you what this means. This happened. And I don't even know where this goes. I have not read all this. It's hard for me to read. I'm just wondering if this is going to go like this type of not really thinking about it and what started to the Holocaust. I don't think it's going to go there, but it might. We'll see. What I'm doing now is to remind conservatives that we stand for certain things. Okay. Not everything is up for grabs or negotiable. You can't do that. An ideology can't be fixed in stone. You have to be able to, things change, right? No is everyone, irrespectful of their beliefs. Everyone, respect of their beliefs, welcome in the conservative movement. Who decides this? There's a litmus. This is exactly what Steven Crowder said. This is a litmus test. And he had like some pillars that I agreed with. And then the other things, I'm like, well, you're going to leave out a lot of fucking people. Again, is there it's like really the two-state or two-party system's over in this country. And the truth is, there really is no liberal and conservative party. They disagree on a couple of three things. The rest, they're all big government. There is no real thing that's conservative in this country. None. And Nick isn't, of course. It says, welcome in the conservative movement unless you share conservative core values. Now, again, he's going to decide what that means, okay? And again, this is the litmus test that they're trying to do right now. And guess who's pushing all that stuff on the sides? It's the same fucking people, the Zionists and all that stuff. They're so pro-Israel that they have laws to say you can't say anything against Israel. If you even somewhat explicitly say the claim of 6 million Jews died in Holocaust, you can go to jail in certain parts of the world, in Canada, and certainly everywhere in Europe. These people don't believe in free speech. They believe in whatever they believe, and they're pushed by the same people. I'm trying to see what he's going to talk about. This is all academic shit. I'll try to go through it really quick. There's still a lot of shit here. There's more to American conservative belief in the rule of law. Okay. The nation's republic, civil order, accountable and limited government. Would you think that the last 100 years in this country have been limited? We have $40 trillion in debt, and that's just the stuff. And then you got the other in debt. We're well in hundreds of trillions of dollars. Limited government. How many foreign wars have we done? Is that limited government? And how many conservatives and Republicans have been running the country during that time? Marriage and the family. Who decides for the family? You're not really, are you really doing anything about that? Are you doing anything about that? To believe what the nuclear family means? The supportment of flourishing institutions of civil society and traditional moral values, personal responsibility, and rewarding effort and achievement and constitutional principles of federalism and the separation of powers and physical rights and liberties and the marketing banks equality. Oh my God. And a sensible system of legal immigration and opposition to illegal immigration and physical. This is all milk toast conservatism, and that's all great. These are mostly like, basically, this is civic national shit, and yeah, it works, but it never happens that way because people run the government and they have too much influence. Other people have too much influence in it, and we get involved in shit we should never be in. And they take those resources away from our own country. And we sit there and we use that resource for people coming to this country either illegally or legally, and you destroy the common man, the unmasked. And this is what Trump won in 2016. And that was the call to all this. And he had a chance to do something about it, and we didn't do it. He was overtaken, and now it's 100 times worse. And Nick was 100% right at what happened to the American right. It is run by basically moderate Jewish people that were Democrats before, but they gave Trump all that money to make sure he got the second. And again, he doesn't get in without young white men. He doesn't get in. And Charlie Cook got him in there. And understanding America's leadership in the world. That means that we got to go and we have to fight wars for the same fucking person all the fucking time. That little fucking state in the middle of the Middle East. Okay, these are what these academics do. He just sit there and just flowery. We have to do all this, and we're not really American if we don't do this. And again, our founding was a radical idea. Okay, we were fucking terrorists. We absolutely were. We did what terrorists did to take over and become the leaders of this country. We actually did. Okay, and that's what we all supposed to know about. That we're the rebel type of people. Americans are not. We're Americans with European descent, but we're a different animal altogether. But those are still my people. And it kills me when I see what's happened in Europe, in England especially. It kills me. Germany kills me. And we need to stop that, right? And these people would sit there and say, it's not good to say it's okay to be white. They will not allow that to happen. But you can say for any other race, especially the ones that live in the Middle East. Okay, I'll just finish what he had to say. He had said nothing that means anything. This is the reaction of an older man that thinks the last 40 years, I guess, has been the greatest it's ever been for the conservative movement in this country. That he thinks now that I'm gonna keep and stop different ideas that are still conservative in most areas. Nick is a Catholic. He believes in traditional family. He's a virgin. He has not had sex. People might say he's gay. I don't give a shit. But this is where we're at. And he doesn't hate Jews. He hates the state of Israel and what they've done and how they've pushed us to fight their wars. And this is not a liberal type of thing. It's just a common sense thing. And that's why he has a lot of people that used to be Democrats and Republicans or whatever else that are listening to what he has to say. And people are saying that he's basically changing what he actually said. No. This guy, when he was 18, 19, he said a lot of edgy shit, right? And I didn't always get with it, but it resonated with me because I come from that generation that we used to say shit like this all the time. And then we just got our balls taken off for the last 20 years, 30 years, based on liberal, Marxist, feminist bullshit that this guy says that Nick is pushing again. Okay. He just doesn't believe that how it's formed right now on the right is probably good for people like him, especially young people in this country. And he has a claim that is verifiably factual against the people that came before him. Whether they're liberal or right wing, he's 100% right. But this is the last paragraph, and I'll stop. It's been 40 minutes, and I'm sorry it's been so long, but this could be even longer. I'm not defending him. He doesn't need me to defend him. He can go on anybody. And this guy didn't have the balls to have an interview with him. I'm sure he would have one, and he could just write a report after that. And he could frame it every way he wanted. But he sees what's happening. Anytime anybody says anything against Nick now, he's going to get his followers to come out and say, you're wrong. And I'm one of them. I'm not his followers. I'm an old guy, right? I think that he is the future, or people like him are the future. If you believe what America really is, it's not a melting pot. It never was, okay? That's a whole other video, okay? What we've done since I was born in 1965, we've changed the demographic reality in this country that has fundamentally changed what it means to be American. Now, again, if these people came in and they assimilated to the American way of life, it would be somewhat okay. But we should not sit there and say that it's okay. We're the only people in the West, white countries, that have to sit there and allow this to happen. And that even people like Elon Musk talk about it. But then he says stupid shit like, Jews are white. And then we have to call it out. Finally, this is it. The gripers, that's everybody. Everybody that somewhat supports Nick, this is what we are attempting to bring their toxic ideas. Family, Christ is king, no more immigration, legal or illegal, doing stuff for young people so they can get ahead in life and stop giving entitlement payment people they're not doing anything. You know, people, and this is all conservative shit. If you can work, you should be going to work, right? And again, and Nick is much more on that side. You consider more, I don't know, it's not liberal, but it's like, yeah, I would give somebody time to do this. He probably is for paid leave when kids get married, when people have babies. That both people should be get off. These things, if the government actually supports their citizens, that's what you should be for. You people like to say we're individualistic. Great. We're a capitalist society. Great. But as a collective, if we're Americans, and whatever that means, some people might think it's different, what I think it is, but the government is there to support all Americans collectively. And we don't do it. We don't fucking do it. When I see people on the streets are homeless and stuff, now a lot of that is on their own, but we allow that, and we have people from Somalia, and we give them Section 8 out, and we'll give them money, and we'll give them a phone and all that shit. Meanwhile, people are dying on the streets. It's just, it makes no sense to me. And why would anybody that's grown up through this town and seen this stuff, why would they not, someone say this is not how it should be working? You're not by the people with the people. You're just not. But again, toxic. What's toxic? Because he thinks that women should have some checks on them, that they shouldn't be out there throwing their body everywhere, to not showing their body I mean, what's toxic about that? This is something everybody believed in 1960. Everybody did, right? We shamed people when they were getting unmarried and getting pregnant. We decided that when I was growing up, I was the fast guy, or one of the fast guys in the school. And of course, now I would be considered fit. And I was shamed. Now, it was wrong, but it also allowed me to understand that society has to be a little bit hard with you at some times. And there was no more There's a lot more suicide now because we have too much fucking time getting on internet and finding how bad we are. The groypers who are attempting to bring in toxic ideas into conservative movement and remake conservative in their image. No, this is a different type of movement. It's America first. Do you not understand what that means? Conservative is something that we've learned from the Brits. Classical liberalism, we consider conservative. I consider for my entire life I'm classical liberal. That is an English term. We are not, this is a different thing. We want to preserve, and protect what it means to be America first. And when you do that, you have to understand how we got here. You can sit there and say we took this fucking land. It's stolen. We killed all this and we did all that and slavery and all that shit. I don't care. We didn't do anything. We did what every other fucking group of people did when they took over shit, right? There's nothing wrong for the people now to say, you know what? I want to preserve and protect that. And if it was me, and no one would probably get to this point, I would make sure there'd be no immigration for at least 10 years. And after that, it would only be from white countries. Just saying that. Just saying it. I would obviously do something to promote birth rates with the black in it doesn't matter with that. It says, these toxic ideas in the conservative movement and remake conservative in their image ought to be met with reasoned, principled responses. He gave none. Conservative leaders and institutions, who are those? Are you going to tell me which one those are? Is that like Daily Wire? Is that my conservative leaders? Or is it Dennis Prager? Or is it going to be the Zionist pastors that sit there and basically says we have to do everything for Israel because what it says in the Bible? Or Senator Cruz that says we have to do it because of this. The only reason I went to become a senator is because my support to Israel. Really? Conservative leaders and institutions must not pander to them. Have they? They've been canceled. They can't have these conversations. And when they do, shit happens to them. People come to their houses, try to kill them. They take away their ability to make money. They go in and they go to their house, their jobs, and they lose their jobs. They are the original cancel culture there is in the last 10, 15 years. Obviously, there was other things. What are you talking about? Pandering? Are you saying by pandering that if Steven Crowder puts Nick on his show that he's pandering? That when Tucker did that, he's pandering? Again, 6 weeks ago, you said what Tucker said was fine. Now you got the call, and now it's pandering. So basically saying, we can't give him his own plan. He doesn't need it anymore. That's how stupid you are. These older men just don't understand. They've been academic for all they don't understand how the change, the leaves has changed, right? It's fucking, and I'm in the same area as him, right? He might live longer than me, but it's changed. And the thing is that we have to understand now is that it can get 100,000 times worse. We have to get somebody like Nick or something like that because what comes after him could be 100% worse. His is, for the most part, is a very reasonable approach. Again, some of the things I don't agree with him on. I mean, that's true. But the truth is, I don't think he should be a leader, but he's waking people up. And we have people, now other influencers that are also being involved with that. And that's all good stuff. Because we find out now that we get the fog of being held down by this introduction that we get all the time. And we realize who's actually pushing all that. Should not pander to them or play footsies with them. Is that basically saying because Tucker was on one side of the test and he was on the other side and underneath the thing they were playing with each other? This is supposed to be a seasoned professor at Princeton. I think of that movie. I forget the name of it. Brandon Hall was in it and the other guy. And the guy, it's a very pompous lecturer is up there and he says, you can leave Harvard with a preposition or something like that. And then he comes back with this whole thing about what it means to be America and all that. That this country can be run by a bum. We're all bums, that we're not part of the king the elite and all that stuff, that this country is totally different. And as I said before, this is a rebel country, a new type of idea. Yeah, we took some of our issues from other things, but we were a totally different thing that we know of, right, in world history. And we've lost that. We lost that adventure that made us take over the West and the cowboys and all that stuff. And we had World War I and World War II, and we lost a lot of alpha males. Europe, same way. And we have a lot of very soy boy academia type people that run this country, people that work in corporations and never really lived a real life. And they talk about, man, let them all in or get them all out. And they don't look about what's happening with the actual middle class, white person, black person, family in this country. They don't. They pander to these things all the time. Why would you go to Israel to sign shit? Why would you go to the fucking wall there? Okay. We can't play footsie with them. We must, in the name of our ancient faith, draw the bright light. Okay. It all goes back to the Old Testament, right? Ancient faith. Yeah, it is. It's not the oldest. So Nick believes in pretty much a Christ nationalism type of thing, a theocracy that has people that believe in Christ as being king, as being the leaders in this country. He said the same thing. Now, his is more based on Zionism, and I believe he probably believes that the end times are coming. And he probably thinks all the other things, right? Again, these are learned people. He had the ability to have that response on a video form months ago, and then said something great that he did it. I don't know if it was necessary, but he did it. And then 6 weeks later, this comes out. And it's all bullshit. It's all flowery bullshit. This is what it means to be conservative. To be honest, that is very, very weak. When you look at what Steven Crowder had to say about the pillars of conservatism, I think was a lot better. And he basically, they had the conversation yesterday. Nick is not really conservative. Again, those terms are gone. They're absolutely gone because you cannot trust it. You can't trust when conservatives have been in power, we still do shit they shouldn't be doing. That is not conservative in nature. They're not conservative that United States citizens is. They're not. If I was a conservative in Congress and all this shit was happening under Biden and all these guys were coming across the border, I would be on TV every night. I would be sitting out there. I'd be filibustering as much as I could to let everybody know what's happening in the southern border, that he's fundamentally changing the country just for power for the liberal side. Now, again, this is the problem with conservatism and republicanism. If the Republicans thought they could do the same fucking thing and it would somewhat support them, they do the same thing. And this is why we don't trust them. And I'm 60 and I don't trust them. Why would you think that somebody's in their 25 or 60 or 26 would trust them after what they've seen? They saw 2016, Trump somehow gets in, and all of a sudden he starts doing a good thing, and then they stop everything for him. And they investigate him and they do stuff. And before the stuff even did, they were stuff about the reports that were fake that tried to do something like that. And then they tried to the Summer of Love, and then nothing really happens with that. And we have a white cop that goes to jail for the rest of his life because how he was trained. And he had nothing to do with the man's dying. And then Trump loses, and then you got January 6th, and basically it's the worst thing that's happened in the United States, and it's pushed forever. They impeached him twice. So this man that came down the stairs said, we're going to do this, and we're going to stop importing people. We're going to start doing stuff for the people. They're not getting anything, and we're going to make more factories and stuff. And he did some of that, but he just stopped doing it. And all of a sudden, his ears got influenced by other people. And then when he came back in the last turnaround, everybody that supported him were all former Democrats, and most of them were Jewish, had a lot of money. And they basically set up the agenda for the next 4 years. And here we are fighting their Israel wars again. Why are we going to Israel? There's so much here. It just is. Why would they believe it? Why? I mean, these people now are old enough that, I mean, their parents would be my grandparents or be my sons and whatever. They're they understand how difficult it is for people, and these guys never stopped. They get on their little shows and they have sound clips and saying we're going to fight this and fight this, and then when they get power, they don't. And then Trump goes there and has a nice little frick out the other day. It was, oh, he's back. Trump is back. Nothing will happen. We didn't build the wall. We didn't. He has stopped immigration for right now, but he still wanted more people. He's like saying that Americans can't do these jobs. This idea, that's all leftist bullshit, right? This idea that there was nobody that worked out in the fields. Never. White people never did this shit. If you pay the people, we spend so much other money and other bullshit that if you made sure that, I'm not gonna say a living wage. I'm not saying stuff like that, but there is a way it could be, and it was that way in this country. We had a thriving middle class in the 50s and early 60s. Oh, that means you want to go back to a white nation. I'm just saying that's what America was. We were number one in everything at that time. And we lost all of that. It's not all based on immigration, but there's a lot of it is. And then the influence that we have from other state entities. And when you go down the rabbit hole, and the problem is they have access in their phone, they can go and do this stuff. Even though the mainstream media and media itself is still controlled, there are other places they can go in and they can find out more things. And as bad as Ben Shapiro says all the time, everybody wants to kill me. He's been a gatekeeper. Once you start going to the top of that rabbit hole, Ben Shapiro's up there. David Rubin, all these guys are up there. But young men especially don't usually stay right there. They go down again, and they find out what happens at the bottom of that. And we know there's a lot more shit going on here. And then you guys got like Candace and stuff that goes way, way down the rabbit hole. Some of their shit's not right, I don't think, but whatever. There's just so much more information now that people get upset all the time. But we can't have 70-year-old men talking about what it means to be a conservative when the conservatives haven't done anything. They don't conserve anything. They haven't conserved the founders of this country. They have laws or whatever. They're laws basically saying that you can't say things about certain things based on the group of people that they are. We used to have, and we still do, colleges still look at you with your racial background. So the person that's actually not benefiting the least right now or happens to be people, young white men. And, oh, now it makes Nick the leader of all that. Well, he is, but there are a lot of people who don't like Nick. My elder son doesn't have really like him. He's a liberal, but he understands why. He's still living at home. You know, I left when I was 18. Anyway, I'm going to stop right now. It's almost 60 minutes. But anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below. This is not the way forward for the conservative movement. All right, you have to allow Nick to have these conversations with this and just let it go where it goes. And if it happens destroying the conservative movement to something else that's better for American citizens, I'm with all that. So that's basically all I have to say. Thank you for watching for this long, and let me know what you think in the comments. You guys have a good day and have a good weekend. Bye.